Everybody, welcome to another Nerds and Squares podcast presented by BP Fun. I'm the host of the most, Captain Zeus, followed by these lovely nerdy gents here, Lucky and DP. We're going to be doing a Marvel podcast over the Defenders, if you will. We actually recorded one like last week, but it came out that the whole Defender saga was canon, and the podcast was about the fact that it wasn't. So, we just want to be up to date with the information, just discuss that. The Echo series has also come out, and so most of us here have seen the whole thing, except for certain somebody who's not so lucky. And we'll be able to kind of go over our thoughts on it, what we think about the future of Marvel Spotlight, which is the banner under which the Defender saga is under, and any other street level content. And yeah, I mean, let's just go right into it. Honestly, first things first, Echo. I won't go into too much spoilers, especially since there are people that haven't finished it. Obviously, I'm not naming names, but I think it was a pretty good series and as a whole, right? I did do a review on it. You guys can see the review on the channel, and I think there were some things that they should have fixed, i.e., the choreography when it comes to like the fight scenes. I don't know what it is with choreography with fight scenes. I don't know if it's just females or if it's just Disney, but it's just been off recently with a lot of things I've seen. I think with Echo, the show was really good. It delved into her very well, especially with the relationship between her and Kingpin. And I love Kingpin. I love Vincent when he plays Kingpin. It's such a good portrayal. And my only issue was like the ending of the series, if you will, with Echo discovering her abilities, if you will, and kind of like learning more about her backstory. Like that last episode, it was just so rushed. Like you can tell there was more to this. They just didn't put in, and I hate that. I hate how you see it with like movies or like director's cut, where they just cut out some like the most important parts and just leave it out to dry. And that's what it felt like with this one. It felt like this was a story that there should have been more in terms of her healing, right? Her healing from her past. And there wasn't really that much of it. We actually got more of a healing process with another certain character that I won't spoil than we did with her in her own show. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think that's something they should work on. And other than that, I think it was pretty. Visuals are also garbage. Like half of the series, visuals were garbage. The other half were like phenomenal. It's something Lucky pointed out in his Aquaman review. In that movie, it was the same way, where it was like random parts were just really good on point visuals, and then other random parts, like next scenes, if you will, was just garbage. And it was kind of the same way with this, in my opinion. But I think this was a great addition to the Defender saga. It definitely kept the vibe, especially with the intro. It definitely kept the tone and the brutality. Um, Especially when we got to see the flashbacks, if you will, with Ronin. Oh, I think it was such a L that we didn't get to see more Ronin, because that was one of the coolest characters and versions of Hawkeye. Like I would have loved to see more Ronin. But I mean, in terms of Echo, that's kind of just what I think. Again, you can view my full thoughts of it in the review on our channel, BP Fun. But what do you guys think? What did you guys think of the show?
Thank you. I do agree that at least I haven't seen the last episode yet. I'll admit, I confess, Father, forgive me. But
Same.
I will say that I did notice that it is the shortest episode out of the entire series. 33 minutes out of all the other ones being either 55 minutes, 40 something minutes type deal. So I can't wait to see it, but I'm definitely probably going to be on the lookout for what Captain Zeus said about it being rushed. Um, I really think that this show was really well done. I remember I started Daredevil a few years ago when it first came out, but I just couldn't get into it for the time being. But I want to get back into it, mainly because of the brutality. At first, I was like, "Oh, wow, this is wild stuff right here, like genocide type deal. Good lord, like, can you actually do that with a person's body? Like, but
Wait,
uh,
genocide? What the frick kind of show were you watching? I don't think we were watching the same show.
you know what? I think Avatar randomly came to mind, regardless of the point.
Which
Anyways,
Avatar?
I guess kind of technically, both. They both have some genocide if you really think about it.
I mean, Last Airbender didn't have any in there. The movie.
Wait, and the and the blue avatar, all the blue avatar like the Navi, they get massacred by those soldiers if you remember from the first movie.
This is a Marvel
Anyways, no,
podcast.
yeah, we
Sure.
really diverged.
You know what?
Regardless of
Technically, Avatar is owned by Disney, so it's still a Disney podcast. We're
Yeah,
on
that's true.
subject. Not
That's
really.
true.
Continue.
But no, point being, I do want to check out the rest of the show. I do like that it kept the brutality of Daredevil because I do indefinitely remember, as you already saw from my PTSD induced moment there, how they kept the brutality, they kept the darkness. Seeing Kingpin, like, goodness. First of all, Vincent, fantastic actor. I loved seeing him in this. I thought that seeing him in, for example, the Insomniac Spider-Man, and then seeing this version of him, I really loved, like, how alike they were. Like, they're both feared, respected, scary people. Like, this dude's like, what, 7-8 foot, just hunk of just muscle. And if you see him barging towards you, you're done for. You might as well just jump off a cliff at that point. But I love his acting. I love how, like, he could walk into a room and then you sense that intensity. You sense that fear of just like, this dude could literally just kill me just by just thinking it, and then I'm just dead. But I am excited for the future of what they're going to do with the street level heroes. I can't wait till they have Spider-Man meet up with Daredevil and just have a bunch of other, mix-ups, collaborations. I don't know. I'm just really excited, and honestly, I did not think this show was going to be as good as it was. I'm actually incredibly interested in this show, the character, the backstory. I didn't really think it was going to be as good as it was, and I'm glad that I took the time to actually check out this show, and I so look forward to seeing what Marvel has in store for it. I'm hoping they bring it to the big screen again and just do something with it, something really cool. But I'd say that's my take for right now.
So, I haven't seen Echo yet, ladies and gentlemen. But here's my deal. I've watched Zeus's review. I've heard DP and Zeus here on this Marvel podcast. I would always like to point out that it is Marvel. No blue people, unless we're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy villain, Volume 1, of course. But
I thought you were going to say like the Kree, because they are blue. Maybe humans. But, I mean, you were close enough. I'll give it to you.
Kree lives matter, bro.
The Kree. Anyways, you guys have talked me into it, because at first I was skeptical, right? The House of Mouse hasn't been particularly good in the category of making Marvel shows, as we have found out with several different television series, such as She-Hulk and What If. But you have talked me into it, Zeus. I do feel as though Echo might be a decent show. To your point, I am a little bit nervous about the lack of consistency in the CGI that I've been hearing from said show. That is something that gave me headaches during the Aquaman movie, because if I'm going to watch something that is not good, I would at least like it to look good. But in terms of Echo, I'm willing to give it a chance. We do know that now that this is the Defenders saga. This is all in the MCU. Daredevil is in the MCU. Punisher is in the MCU. All confirmed. Zeus's theory was correct. I would like to point that out. Zeus's theory was correct. That is important. BP Fun broke it first. I'm just saying. IGN, count your days. I'm just kidding.
We're coming up. And check out that Marvel video we did. We did it
Yes.
literally the day before Echo dropped. And like he said, we were Right on the money there.
We were on the money, but I'm willing to give it a shot, man. So I'm excited. I'm excited to give it a watch. Obviously, man, let's have some fun with it. Let's get crazy with this Defender saga. I want to see blood, guts, TVMA. I want to see Vincent D'Onofrio. I heard that he is the street level Thanos. Let's see you own up to that role, big boy.
We saw him
I
in
want to see
person. He
you.
was a massive
I
beast.
I want to see you live up to the role, big man. I know you're not Charmin Ultra Soft out over there. I know you're not. I need the blood. I need the knuckles. I need all of it. Feed me. Feed me tank energy. Feed me that, I have the Infinity Gauntlet of drugs and gang members, and I'm willing to use it on the streets of New York. That's
Okay,
what I want
that
to see
I don't
from
know where we're going, but I don't know where this train was going.
Kingpin. That's
Kingpin.
what I was.
That's
That's where I was
the end
going.
station.
I'm
But
excited though. I'm excited though.
I will
I,
add. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna add to your point where I did notice with some of the fight scenes. In the beginning, it seemed that some of the hits did not actually connect. Which, again, granted, it's a show. We know it's fake, but they usually would hit close enough to where it looks like they hit. And I did see some of those choreography moves just kind of like they were a little weird. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's been kind of trending ever since the first episode, or at least since everyone has watched the full series. That one scene with Daredevil where he's on the floor and he just gets right back up like a whole like spring type deal, like a bed spring. And people were saying like, "Oh, this is like really weird CGI. What were you trying to do with this, Marvel?" Like, I personally didn't notice it until people started pointing it out. I don't know if you noticed, Captain Zeus, but
Honestly, the whole fight scene with Echo and Daredevil, there was just so many like missed punches, so many like weird pauses. Like the scene got leaked like for a few days before the season came out, and we obviously posted that. And in that, I mean, a lot of people agree with me in the video where it's like, yeah, there's just weird moments. Like Echo at one point, she like held her leg awkwardly and just waited for Daredevil to get up and then hit. It was just very oddly timed. I don't know why they decided to think that was good enough to leave in there. But yeah, I mean, there was just throughout the show, there was just some very weird moments with the choreography and stunts. Granted, there's others where it's just like phenomenal, right? Like I think it was episode 3 where they were in the arcade or the laser tag. That was super cool. Like, don't get me wrong, that was dope. But like, where's that energy? Like, where's that consistency that Lucky was bringing up, in that show? And that's kind of an issue that I see going forward for Marvel Spotlight. We can't even call it the Defender Saga because it's canon, right? It's not. It's no longer a saga. It's just, I guess, this Marvel Spotlight, if you will. Like Daredevil was great, always has been. It's the pinnacle, and Lucky and I have talked about this. It's the top tier, S tier of Marvel television. You have Iron Fist, which was very good, especially with the action, right? Same thing with Defenders, also very good with the action. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, they're a little bit less action heavy, considering how more indestructible they are as well, quote unquote indestructible. And then Punishers is very more gun oriented, more John Wick, if you will. So that one's just guns blazing. But yeah, like the Defenders era, if you will, what was very much ahead of its Marvel time with the action scenes. Even the corridor scenes, the Daredevil does this all the time. These single shot action scenes, like through the corridor, the prison. I'm rewatching the show right now because honestly, when Lucky and I were talking about it, I got really wanting to watch it. So I was rewatching it. There was a scene in where Madame Gao's delivery driver was in the cab, and it's just the cameraman in the cab panning like throughout the windows, and it just pans one point to another. It's the whole action scene between Daredevil and the Russians, and like those scenes are just so cool. You get hints of like a type of action scene, obviously not the cinematography, but you get hints of like the action in there. But I'm hoping that they bring in more and more of the Daredevil cat or executives or producers, choreographers, all that stuff for the future of the spotlight action sequences, right? I know they're bringing in the Punisher writers as the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again, right? You have the Loki I think it's the Loki directors that are writing or directing the show as well. So they're doing a nice little fusion with Daredevil Born Again, which it's a good sign. I do wish they would bring in the Daredevil peeps in for that. But Daredevil Born Again, I think, with this TVMA series, it has a good shot, right? Like this TVMA series was overall pretty successful. It was a really good show, enjoyable. Obviously, some kinks they needed to work out. But if you give us a Daredevil season 4 and Born Again, especially with the end credit scene that I can't tell you right now because neither of you have watched it, but if we follow that storyline from the end credit scene, oh, we're gonna get some good sequences. Especially since Punisher's coming back in the show too, and Karen and Foggy supposedly.
Oh, they're coming back. I heard that they fantastic.
Reportedly,
That's fine
they're
then.
coming back for Daredevil Born Again.
Big bet. I like that because I was scared because I remember I heard some like announcements on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, they're not coming back." I'm like, "Bro, why wouldn't they bring them back? Like, it just wouldn't make any sense." But if you heard it from Captain
Through the
Zoo,
grapevine. Just through the grapevine.
just said. But yes, Lucky.
I was just gonna mention that for anybody who enjoys to dabble in Daredevil, Foggy is your one gleaming hope throughout that show. He is the comedic relief. He is the light in the despair, if you will, because that show gets deep at a lot of moments. They go into great detail about the crimes that are being committed in Hell's Kitchen. So if we can get that same kind of Daredevil and that same kind of energy for Born Again, I mean, sign me up, take my money. I'm going on the roller coaster, baby. That's what it is. Kevin, you might have reeled me in with this one, but I still got my eyes on you. I'm just letting you know. I can still pray on your downfall, but I will partake in the positives of what you're doing, and I will prop you up for that. I'll give you your flowers if you succeed, absolutely. But I'm still watching you, just FYI.
I have faith. I'm an optimistic guy.
I think this is a good sign, especially in the podcast and the DC video Lucky and I did, where James Gunn's DCU is looking very spicy, right? We got Creatures Commandos dropping this year. We have Superman Legacy dropping next year. There's also the Arkham series that's going to be in the DCEU, made by Matt Reeves, rated R horror that is dropping there too. And, DC is looking very spicy. And at the same time, Marvel is not. There's just so many L's that they've been taking recently ever since the COVID era of content, right? Black Widow was just dumpster fire. She-Hulk, dumpster fire. What If is a dumpster fire. I don't care what DP says. That is a dumpster fire. You have WandaVision and Loki, which could have been absolutely god tier, but were absolutely toenail tier. And I mean, you did have some good stuff. Like, don't get me wrong. You got Shang-Chi, you got Moon Knight, you got Falcon and Winter Soldier, you got Eternals. Like, there was a lot of good stuff they came out with, but a lot of bads to more than less balance that out, right? And I'm like, this is what they need. Considering that the only MCU movie coming out in 2024 is Deadpool 3, like, and Echo was like one of the only series. Well, I mean, they have like a couple of other coming out, but they really need these ups with the spotlight stuff.
For all the audience out there, I would just like to point out that my man Zeus just tried to sneak Eternals into that list. I would just like to point that out.
Disrespect Eternals. That
my
is
man,
such an underrated movie.
You know that meme of like all the soldiers in a line, and then there was that clown in the back. It's like, yeah, Moon Knight, baby, yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah, we got all these hits. They said Eternals, and he immediately switched topics.
Is amazing.
He immediately switched topics. I just had to point that out, man. It's all love, Zeus. I actually enjoyed it. I just thought that was hilarious that you threw like Moon Knight and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and like Shang-Chi.
This is what I thought was gonna happen. I thought DP was gonna say something as soon as I said that, and I was like, I'm not gonna give him a chance. I'm moving on.
You
See, I was
slid,
rolling
you
with the
slid,
punches.
you slid Eternals in there, and then instantly just pivoted. That was hilarious.
I
For the
played
audience
sports
out
ball.
there,
I know what to do.
Sports ball.
for the audience out there, I want you to know that Lucky has your back, and I'm watching. I'm watching, my guy. I got you on that.
But as I was saying, yes, Marvel needs a pick me up. Echo's a good sign. Daredevil Born Again is going to be looking good. Deadpool 3 is looking good. Blade better be good. Like, there's a lot of good prospects out there, especially with the video game Blade coming out too. That's good sign, good sign. Made by Bethesda. Good sign, good sign. So, let's see what's going to happen here.
But hey, Cap, is there going to be a trailer soon for Deadpool 3? Because I've been hearing some rumors around Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
I have heard through the grapevine that there will be a teaser trailer more than likely, dropping during the Super Bowl. So that seems to be the smart decision due to just reachability and time frame. How likely that is, who knows? They are still in production, I think. So
I would also like to point out briefly that before we started filming this specific podcast, there are rumors, not confirmed, but there are rumors swirling that Blade will not be coming out until 2027. Now, whether or not these are confirmed, whether or not all it said was a reliable source. Granted, the reliable source could be somebody who sits there and plays Roblox all day. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm just throwing it out there that somebody at some point is gaining traction with the notion of Blade will not be coming out until 2027. Now, if that is the case, I don't know why Mahershala Ali would still be attached to this project, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, like I said, take that with a grain of salt. I really don't believe it. I feel like that would be a much bigger thing, and that would probably cause a lot more uproar than just like whispers. So, once again, take that, do with it what you will. I feel like they're moving along as scheduled. So, but I did want to throw that out there that don't trust everything you see on the internet. Don't believe everything you see. Don't go into a panic if that's something that you see. Just know that there's somebody out there that's spreading that rumor.
and probably why is because last year when Daredevil Born Again and Blade were being made, Kevin Feige checked these out, right? And I don't know if maybe his eyes were just burning out of pure disgust, like, wow, I'm vomiting out of both ends because of how bad this is, right? But it was so bad for both of these projects that he told them to start over. He fired the people in charge and told them to start over, which is great because if it doesn't look good, you don't put it out. That's why She-Hulk shouldn't be a thing, because that wasn't good. It shouldn't have been put out, but whatever. And I think it's a good sign that with Daredevil Born Again, they're started over, and there's a lot of positives I'm hearing from the show, right? And then when they scrapped Blade, the current version of Blade, which sounded like a train wreck, not even a Blade movie. It's Blade's a cameo in his own movie. That when they brought in the new writer director, or I think it's just the writer, that it's looking good. Mahershala Ali said this is looking way better. I'm 100% on board. I'm loving where this is going. Like, if the actor's going to come out and say that after previously saying, like, this is a mess, I'm pissed, that's a great sign. That's a great sign. That's what Marvel needs. That's what Kevin Feige needs to do more, is actually check out the projects and see how they're looking before you put them out. And it was a smart decision for them to add showrunners, because otherwise you have the COVID era of content, which I've already made my point.
That's what I've always wondered about these companies. Like, why are you getting paid so much money to have trash ideas? The biggest example that I still always go back to is the Sonic movie, where they literally made him have human teeth and look like a demon in disguise, first of all.
I thought you were going to do Fant Four Stick, because you just won't shut up about that movie.
That too, but
My man is
worse than that is Sonic, because of how they made him look. Like, who thought that this was a good decision? Same with She-Hulk. Who thought it was a good decision to do that? And with Blade, whose idea was it? Like, let's make the main character a cameo in his own movie. That's pretty creative, huh? Huh? Like, no.
It's an
What?
original
What are
idea.
you on crack?
I would just like to say that one of the greatest ideas I've ever seen was Sony's pitch for Morbius. Reason being, they took Spider-Man out, which was a blessing from God.
It was ridiculous.
Now, my reasoning for this is
Dumpster
that
fire.
Jared Leto was really able to get into the role and actually become anemic. He was able to engulf himself in the vampireism of what it requires to be not just Morbius, but a symbol.
It's more than time.
He was not just a vampire; he was a doctor.
I'm gonna kill myself right now. This is terrible.
I just wanted to throw out that Sony, if you're seeing this,
It's Morbin time.
I was gonna freaking say that, dude.
it's always. Go ahead, finish it, Zeus. It's always what?
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. There's a reason they re-released it in theaters, baby. And it's not because it was doing bad. It's because
Totally.
it was so well received that we asked for an encore. That's what it was.
See, I go back to my point. Who thinks that these are good ideas? Yes, he makes fun of me because I get mad at it every time I think about it with Morbius. Why the hell did you take out Spider-Man? You hype it up. You hyped up Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I was literally sitting here like, oh my god, Tobey Maguire's going to be in this. And then they just said, nah, I'm going to...
First of all, we all knew that wasn't happening.
But you saw the graffiti on the wall when Morbius was walking down that alleyway.
We
That
all
was Tobey's
saw
Spider.
it, and apparently it wasn't even in the movie. They
Yeah,
took
I
that,
know.
They took that out. Like,
All of the Spider-Man stuff except the end with
and it didn't
Vulture.
even make sense because that was the image of Tobey Maguire's, but the font and time period or whatever was like the Insomniacs or it was Andrew Garfield's. Like, there was just a mixture of Spider-Man, and it's like, wait, is this in the Tom Holland Spider-Man verse? Like, I don't know. It was
But
so
on top
weird.
on top of that, this was before No Way Home came out. That's why people were speculating, okay, why did they have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man on here? But wait, could it be Andrew Garfield Spider-Man? But it couldn't be Tom Holland's because we don't know what the hell's going on here. So that's where it got confusing. But because No Way Home wasn't out yet and we didn't know whether the Spider-Man were going to be in there, there was all this speculation. And then I saw Tobey, and I even told Lucky, hey, I think there's a possibility that Tobey might be in this universe because this is his Spider-Man. This is literally the same from the Insomniacs.
And what did I say?
He said, nah. And then we went in and there was nothing. And I was
Insomniac Spider-Man's different from Tobey Spider-Man. I'm just letting you know.
oh yeah, no. They used the same picture when they first announced the Tobey Maguire skin in the PS4, the Insomniac Spider-Man, and they used that exact same image when they first posted about that.
I would also just like to say one last thing about Morbius, if I may, before we move forward. So I love the direction at the end where the first thing he does when he saves the world is buy himself a Dodge Challenger and drive out into the middle of nowhere to meet an old man, decrepit man who enjoys to dress up as a vulture, and meet up and talk about the master plan to take on Spooderman. Now, that direction just screamed to me Vin Diesel, Fast and the Furious. The way he was pressed up against the car, there's nothing like it. I mean, my knees were shaking just talking about it. So I'm gonna move on.
Violence is what I project towards you.
That's the short. That's the short of.
But kind of let's bring this back to our main discussion here that we did sidetrack on the Marvel Spotlight, the Defenders saga, if you will. It is canon, and I did do a short on it. Daredevil takes place after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I think is awesome. Jessica Jones takes place after Daredevil, and then you have Luke Cage taking place after Ant-Man. Iron Fist taking place after Luke Cage, Defenders taking place after Iron Fist, of course, and then Punisher takes place after Spider-Man Homecoming, which I thought was very interesting. And then you do have Echo taking place after Wakanda Forever. Now, I did also mention this to Lucky, where they need to start to do a thing where these shows, like, they need to have seasons put in there, because season 3 of Daredevil takes place after Defenders, and Luke Cage and Iron Fist season 2 takes place after both of those. So they need to have a better timeline when it comes to the seasons, like split it up into seasons so you can watch it pretty consecutively and linearly. Because otherwise, if you're just watching Daredevil seasons 1 to 3, you're like, wait a second, how did he get all beat up? Why is he over here in this church? Oh, what happened with him and this chick? And then you're like, well, I finished that with the bullseyes and everything. And then you finish Luke Cage, you finish the Iron Fist, and then you get to Defenders, and you're like, that's how it happened. Why did I have to wait 5 shows and 3 movies to get to this point? You know what I'm saying? So they definitely need to fix that. Then again, the Disney Plus like UI is just really kind of weird. Like, it's cool, but it's kind of sucky at the same time. So that's just a side note there. But I mean, back to the subject it's canon. I think this is fantastic. I'm so ecstatic of it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm already rewatching Daredevil just because of how much of a goated show this is. But this does beg the question, what more do we want to see on Marvel Spotlights? Like, I'm assuming they would probably want to add Moon Knight in there, right? Or unless they don't, which is fine considering he's over in Egypt half the time. But he is a New Yorker. Well, Mark is. Steven is British. So that's the thing. And we're not talking about number 3 over there. Anyways, I think that'd be cool because it does look like we could have another season of Defenders, which I think is what they should do. I know some people were trying to say like the Marvel Knights. I'm like, no, that's stupid. You have the Defenders. It's an established thing. So what they could do now is do another build up with it doesn't even have to be all the characters, just certain characters to build up towards a Defenders season 2 where you have these street level Avengers, right? And I think that would be freaking dope to see because, one, it's definitely going to bring people in to continue watching the MCU and to continue going on Disney Plus to watching these shows and staying up to date because you're like, hey, even if I'm not watching the movies, I could just sit here on Disney Plus and watch the shows and still have a super cool interactive story that's linear and vice versa, right? And then you'll obviously see people in the movies pop in the shows and in the shows pop in the movies and, vice versa again. And I think that's the smarter way to go and the coolest way to go. But I know I did mention, who did you guys want to see coming in next? I mean, I think they should just keep the core people they have here and just continue forward. And maybe add in Moon Knight, right? Maybe add in a Blade cameo or something, right? Maybe add in a Spider-Man cameo, right? But I think they should just keep what they have here and fix Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
I would also like to mention that I would enjoy a Ghost Rider cameo, because here's the thing, I would love to have 2 Ghost Riders in the MCU. Ever since
Agents of
once
Shield.
again, I'm going to plug our other video that we posted, the Marvel video. Zeus mentioned that we could have potentially 2 Ghost Riders within that video that was posted if they make the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon. I would really appreciate that. Because again, right, I love the core of what we have here. I love the Defenders series. I agree. I'd like to see maybe Moon Knight, maybe some Blade in there, mixed in there. But for the most part, the solid group that has already been built, I think, should be probably 80 to 85% of what's on screen for that. But I would like to see my man GR Ghost Rider.
Would it be Norman Reedus? Is he confirmed?
He is not confirmed. That's something that's been speculated for many a moon.
It's been like 2 years, for speculation.
Yeah. But I would like some continuity from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Personally, I loved that rendition of Ghost Rider. And I wouldn't mind seeing him kind of in that street level role for a minute, and then you could kind of veer off and give him a solo film, because I feel like Ghost Rider is deserving of a solo film. So that's just my take. Zeus, what
I'm
you
just going to
think?
interject real quick because you just gave me a perfect idea. Since if they add in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as canon, right? And I think that's smart. You can even do it where it's like seasons 1 through 7 are canon, and then 8's like alternate timeline deal, which I think is the situation. I haven't finished. I didn't watch season 8, but if they add Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as canon, one, you have the Inhumans in there, which is smart because then you could add Wanda and Pietro in there as Inhumans at first, and then do the reverse what they did in the comics, and then make them mutants, because that'd be super cool. And then that could explain how certain people have abilities, and you could also redeem the Inhumans, which is kind of what Agents of Shield did after that debacle of a series that they dropped. But two, if they have Agents of Shield as canon, you have the two Ghost Riders. You can do two things. You have a TV series and a movie of Ghost Rider, and they're two separate Ghost Riders. You could have Johnny Blaze as this, like the cinematic, the movie Ghost Rider, and Robbie Reyes, who drives his, I think, Challenger, as the street level Ghost Rider, who handles everything else with the Defenders. And that's dope because you have two different storylines with two different versions of the same character by two different actors, and it's not an issue. It's this. Oh man, that is. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. And you don't even have to worry about casting. You can do Norman Reedus as Johnny Blaze because everyone wants him, and that's going to bring in big bucks for the movies. And then you keep the same guy from Agents of Shield and leave him in there as the Defenders version. We cook it.
And then you could even put them in a show or a movie together one time for the fanboys who want to say, I want to see them together one time. Well, fantastic.
Like Midnight Suns.
Like
Well,
Midnight Sun, Zeus.
Bring
Like
in Moon
Midnight-
Knight, bring in Punisher, maybe a Doctor Strange in there with some
See-
Blade.
and make it rated R. And then we're talking about money, Kevin. Let's sit down and let's talk about the funds because we got the ideas right here. Send us the check. Send us the check. All right. We'll even help co-produce and write it out for you. That way, you don't have to worry about these bums giving you another trash show. We got you.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure I could write a better show than whoever was in charge of She-Hulk. Let's be honest.
I agree. I think I could too.
And you know what? We'd be a force to be reckoned with. You know what, DP? I'm sorry. I just kind of took over your spotlight there for a second because this man just gave me some fire ideas. What you thinking about literally the 90 bullet points that I gave you to talk about?
Honestly, I would really absolutely love to see Norman Reedus as Ghost Rider. I love Norman Reedus. I think he's just a badass in general. He's just perfect for the part. I think it'd be, personally, we're still somewhat in the multiversal saga, slightly, if anything, like barely edging out of it. I think after like Deadpool 3, maybe that would be kind of like the big movie exiting out of multiversal type of stuff.
I mean, that one seems to do a lot with the multiverse.
No, yeah. If anything, like if they were to cut it off at that point and then just be done with it, I could kind of see it. But then there's like Secret Wars or like whatever they're gonna come out with. Regardless, I think that what they could do, which I think would be funny, but also at the same time low key kind of cool. We could have three Ghost Riders with Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. Have them all meet, like one last hoorah type deal for Nicolas Cage before he completely retires from acting, because I know he has been talking about like numbering down on his movies, and then bam, he's going to be done. I think it would be a great hoorah to just kind of send him off into the sunset to hell or wherever Ghost Rider goes, probably hell. But regardless, I think it'd be a really cool send off. No, I'm the uncultured one here regarding Ghost Rider. I'm more of a Spider-Man person.
Shane meets Frank Castle? Question mark. In a multiversal saga.
So John Berthel meets John Berthel? Question mark.
Yeah.
Show me the difference between these two people. There is none.
That's my point there. I think it would be really cool to have a nice send off for Nicolas Cage in general. Just bring back his Ghost Rider, and then just send them off.
Bring back Eva Mendes.
But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And like, I think it would be cool to have two Ghost Riders, same character, two different stories, essentially. Which personally, I didn't really know could be possible, but I'm down for it. I think
There's like 4 different versions of Ghost Rider.
in the same universe or within the multi.
In the same universe, because there's Johnny Blaze, there's Robbie Reyes, and I know there was like 2 other ones, and I think they're giving us a new Ghost Rider now. The comics are finishing up with Johnny, so the Spirit of Vengeance is going to find a new host, which I heard. Oh, wait, who was it? I heard it. Oh no, it's Hood. It's Hood in the comics is the new Ghost Rider, which I'm like, that's dope because he has like his dual pistols, and when you form them together, the barrels make like a skull, a flaming skull, which is kind of cool. But yeah, like there's different versions of this because the Spirit of Vengeance goes with different people, and in Agents of Shield, it's confirmed that the Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes has isn't the Spirit of Vengeance. It's something different because he can travel between dimensions, I think, or between like space. I think he can travel through space. So you can technically have a variety, like you can have 2 different versions consistently in the MCU if you make Agents of Shield canon. It's so weird.
I think it'd be cool. And honestly, if they do something with Secret Wars where we already hear about like rumors about, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man popping up in Secret Wars, and then if we have Ghost Riders come in, like the OG cast type deal, I think that'd be really swell. Personally for me.
Give Nicolas Cage his flowers. Without Nick Cage, we wouldn't be here today.
He's a national treasure.
Same thing with Batfleck. If you know anything about Ben Affleck, he was the birth of Daredevil. Way back when.
Him and his back to tanks.
Now, Charlie Cox, 10 times better. But without the OG, who knows what could have happened?
Respect the classics.
No.
Jon Favreau was in that movie as Foggy Nelson, fun fact. And he's the one that made the Iron Man trilogy and The Mandalorian and Elf, which is such a strange resume.
Wow, yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
He's multiversal, if you will.
He's also Happy Hogan. Just another fun fact.
Yes. Wait, hold on.
He's going to have to process that one.
The guy who's dating Aunt May in the MCU.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Which I kind of was bummed where she tried to do the modern woman thing and just didn't want to be with him, but like totally led the homie on. I was like, yo, make happy. Come on, man. Like, Happy deserves to be happy.
Instead, she made Happy sad.
She let that man sleep on her couch, bro. That's nasty. That's the nastiest
After
work.
The summer fling.
Honestly.
I think I've seen Kevin Feige ever do is he let her play him for months, and he ended up sleeping on the couch, bro, and still helped in Tom Holland's case alongside Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Like, he still was an asset even after being bamboozled.
Happy was the real one.
Yeah.
Ultimate
the realist.
Respected, though.
I feel bad for Uncle Ben. Anyways. But, I mean, yeah, like, looping back to the Defenders, because I know we had a huge sidetrack there, mostly because of Lucky's fault. But I think keeping these core characters that we already have canon in the MCU as the Defenders, as these street level vets, if you will, is smart, especially since all the stories is canon. Everything's established. You do have Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop, to form their younger ventures. So I'm sure we'll see some mixtures between their feature film and the Defenders. Obviously, maybe the Defenders is like, maybe Daredevil probably, because he's always like more of a mentor, but maybe they're like mentors to him, right? I honestly just want to see Luke Cage and Iron Fist back. Maybe do a Heroes for Hire series, because that would be so cool. Jessica Jones, she needs a dope season 4 to redeem herself, or just a new season show to redeem herself. Because after season 1 of Jessica Jones, it went downhill very quickly. There were some good parts in season 2, but season 3 was, but season 1 was peak. I told Lucky this. I put season 1 Jessica Jones up there with the Daredevil series as like peak MCU or peak peak MCU, but like peak Marvel content. It was so good. Go ahead.
So, so I am curious about your guys' opinions on this one. Now, Iron Fist is in the Disney's Ultimate Spider-Man, and a few other characters were in there as well. I personally love the show. How would you guys feel if they made that exact same team
No,
in the movie or something
no,
at some point? No,
I'm gonna
no.
keep
I'm
it
not.
sweet and simple.
really.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Honestly, I think first of all, age difference is too big, and the show was fine considering the age and just kind of the cartoon of it. I thought it was unique. It was like a blend of canon and non-canon Marvel stuff, or MCU and non-MCU stuff, which I thought was cool. Drake Bell as Spider-Man was something I didn't see coming, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, the way they have Iron Fist in the shows are similar, but I personally just like the MCU Danny Rand better. He's I guess more whimsical. Like he's more he fits the role a lot better. He's more I guess a more modern version, if you will. Like he doesn't have that cliche voice or acting style for someone that's gone and done this like monk-esque journey, right? Like he's definitely like a Marvel Batman, which seems to be a trend with a lot of characters. Iron Man, Danny, Batman, and the list goes on. But I think they just leave the Defenders the way it is because that group has some of the best chemistry I've seen, especially when we saw them in the show. Chemistry was great, especially when they were crossing over between each other's shows, right? In Luke Cage season 2, we see Iron Fist in there, and Jessica Jones, we see Luke Cage in there. The Nurse is in like almost every single one of those shows, so I think just having that group the way it is perfectly fine. Again, bring in some cameos, bring in the Ghost Riders, you know what I'm saying? But that's about it. I think leave that alone.
Fair.
You don't want to overcomplicate things. I feel like the answers are right in front of you, Kevin. I'm talking to you again, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Don't overcomplicate this. You know you could throw in a Spidey here. You know you could throw in a Moon Knight there, a Blade here. But keep it the street level. Keep it the core that thousands upon thousands, if not millions of people came to watch originally. That's what I would do. I would stick to what worked years ago. If you want to add in a Blade here, if you want to add in a Moon Knight, if you want to give me Ghost Rider, then that's fine. That's fine. But keep the core, you know? That's all I'm saying. We don't gotta go crazy with it. Do what you know works. Everybody loves Danny. Everybody loves the Jessica Jones. Everybody loves the Luke Cage, Punisher, and Daredevil. If you want to add bits and pieces here, but that's your starting 5 right there. If we're talking all-star lineups, baby, that's my starting 5 right there. We can throw in some bench players from time to time. That's cool. Our guys need rest. But when it's time to ball, I'm calling on those 5 right there. It's just what it is.
Good question, though. I mean, at the same time, not a good question, but great. I mean, great thought-provoking question, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I don't think I've been this excited for the MCU in quite a long time. Daredevil 3, Daredevil 3, Deadpool 3. Sorry, I was thinking of Daredevil. I want to watch that show again. Hey, I'm gonna go watch it after this. Not even gonna lie. But Deadpool 3 is gonna be freaking phenomenal. Comic accurate costume for Wolverine. We're gonna see returns from a variety of Fox, uh, uh, Marvel characters like the Ben Affleck Elektra, the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. That Elektra is gonna be back. I cannot remember the actress's name, but she's confirmed to have come back for the movie. Um, Supposedly, the TVA is going to be involved in trying to have Deadpool round up his own group to fight Kang. And even Ryan Reynolds, on one of his threads or X posts, talked about Wolverine being called prisoner like 910672 or something. So, that theory of the TVA being a core element in this is very plausible. And so that's looking good, especially for the multiversal saga, dealing with a multiversal X-Men, if you will. That would be cool. And you also have Echo that just came out, giving us good hopes for Daredevil Born Again. Hopefully, Blade does still come out next year because that movie has been through the ringer. We also have Captain America 4 coming out next year, which is going to be pretty good as it's still doing some reshoots. We do have Fantastic Four coming out next year as well, I believe, which is weird because it's supposed to start filming within the next 2 months, and we still don't know what the cast is, which is very concerning considering the rumors about how the movie is going to be focused around Sue and is somewhat emasculating to Reed Richards, and that's why John Krasinski wasn't coming back. But I mean, that's a rumor, so we don't know how plausible that is. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs that the MCU is dealing with. Is there anything you guys are excited for within these next 2 years?
Honestly, I'm hoping if they continue this multiversal route, if hopefully the original actors for like Fantastic Four are like still around type deal, I would love to see them again. I just think that would be super cool to see like the original Reed Richards, put John Krasinski there, just kind of have them meet, just something nostalgic. I know it's a lot of fan service, but like I think that Marvel did a great job fan service wise with No Way Home. I thought that was fantastic, and like they could have done more with Doctor Strange. They could have done a lot of things differently in that area, but we did see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I thought that was super cool personally. I was really happy to see that. So I feel that if they, again, this is just me, but if they kind of bring back, some older cast members as like the original characters, like Jessica Alba, Sue, and then they meet the original. Of course, sadly, if that's the case, we're gonna have to bring what is it, Fan Four Stick, back again, and get those people coming into and have the naked thing, which I absolutely
I
hated
have a
that.
I have a nice theory for you after Lucky answers, but I have a nice theory for you regarding Fant Four Stick. I think you'll enjoy
Oh,
it.
I hope it's
You'll enjoy
satisfactory.
it.
Oh boy, can't wait.
So I'd say the things that I'm excited for most in terms of Marvel would have to be, obviously you have Deadpool 3 coming out. That's an obvious one. I feel like that's an easy answer.
Hmm.
Um, I'm also excited for what we've really been talking about, the Defenders being into the MCU. I can't wait for Blade. I can't wait for Moon Knight season 2. Um, all of those things kind of culminating into the street level heroes. I can't wait for it personally. I think that's where a lot of people kind of get caught up within the comic book movie agenda, is they feel like everything has to be super big. Everything has to be bigger than the world, right? Every villain has to one up the other. And that's not always true. If you look at the way comic books originally started, right? It was a culmination of street heroes, right? People that looked like you and I, um, coming together to better their communities, and that's really like the OG of what comic books began as. They were very simplistic in terms of like the designs and everything, and it was story driven, heroes that wanted to better their communities and their friends and their families' lives, and also originally like team ups within comic books were meant to have you pick your favorites, right? They weren't meant to, man, I just can't wait to see this giant team up. No, it was meant to, let's get a team up. Let's see what you at home feel like which character do you identify with most? And then you go down that rabbit hole of exploring all of the stories that that character had to offer. And the team up was just there to kind of give you a peek into other varieties of characters. And that's what I think Marvel has to get back to. That's why I'm excited for the street level, is I feel like Marvel is starting to take a look and be like, everything doesn't have to match up with Thanos. We can tell a story that is just as gripping and just as thrilling and emotional, um, without the fate of the world at stake, or the fate of the galaxy. We can tell a story about a villain that might not be uber powerful, but when written well and when kind of presented well, can outshine a lot of those big time villains that you and I have come to know throughout the
Mm-hmm.
MCU. And same with the side characters. You get a feel for them, like Foggy and Karen and all of those characters. I felt more connected to them than I feel any of the side characters I've met in the current MCU. Um, their stories and kind of their background that were displayed within Daredevil was, I think, some of the best writing that I've seen for side characters Marvel's ever done. So for me, it's just getting back to your roots and exploring more believable characters and stuff that we can actually relate to as a society. That's what I'm excited for when it comes to Marvel.
Oh yeah, and I do think that Marvel going back to their roots is a good thing because I mean, like you mentioned, comics at its core is just a variety of street encounters, right? Especially with most, if not, well, I would just say most of the Marvel characters, for some reason, are in New York, but they're all dealing with street level instances, right? And I think having the Defenders and all the characters associated with it canon and starting to focus more on the Marvel Spotlight banner where you're doing more street level content is smart because not everything needs to be a world ending threat. Obviously, you'll have it with like, Eternals, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, that kind of stuff where they will go up against things that are world ending. Hey, I know I said Eternals, but they literally went up against and tried to stop a Celestial from being born on the planet. I'm just letting you know, okay? That's I don't care what your feelings are on that movie. Those events are relevant, okay?
That wasn't me that time. I
I
just want
know.
the
I
audience to
saw DP
reflect.
over here like, he mentioned Eternals. But my point stands. Like, I think focusing more on the street level content, doing more of these series is smarter, especially with Star Wars, where you've seen the success of their shows, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, etc. Like, you've seen the success with them and how well they're received from fans. And if you do that with these other characters that don't need to be on the big screen, they don't need these cataclysmic events to have to be put up there, right? It's smarter. You've even did that with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, where most of that was just them trying to deal with the fallout of Endgame, really. I mean, yeah, there was like a terrorist group they were tracking down, but that honestly felt more of a side story than them just learning about their past and healing it and evolving into the characters we're going to see on the big screen again. And that's what we just need to focus more on. That's why seeing Daredevil is great. Having all of those characters back is great. And then it limits the movies that we're going to be getting, which I think is smart because it's quality over quantity, which has always been and should have always been the key to any success.
That's why Daredevil, I feel like, and this might be a hot take, but that's why Daredevil is, I think, one of the top 5 Marvel characters ever created. It's because when you look at Daredevil and you look at the basis of Daredevil, right? He is so realistic, uber realistic in terms of he's a person that deals with the grappling of religion and his moral compass and how does that affect what he's able to do in his work life when he's a lawyer. And he's not a super successful one either. Like, you don't start off the comics with him like taking down Elon Musk's, you know what I mean, like new tirade. Like, that's not something that takes place. He is his first, you know what I mean, like place of establishment is this old rundown building that he was just barely able to afford, and him and his best friend got involved with it, much like we're doing on this YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a fact.
when you can take things from a comic book and relate it back to yourself, that's when you know that it's really hitting what it's supposed to be hitting. Is we can look at Daredevil and see ourselves oftentimes. There's days where I'm sure people who are religious are lacking faith, right? And there's a comic book from Daredevil that you can go read about that. And there is stuff where he's struggling with I might have to kill this person to stop them from doing terrible things. I don't know if I have what it takes. Those are just as important in gripping and thrilling stories as Thanos might destroy the universe, because that is the internal dialogue of humans. And I think Daredevil's one of the best characters that can display that and give it to you in a digestible bite. And when done properly, like with Charlie Cox and like the Netflix series, you see how good it can really look and how well that can come across to people and be super well received. It's the same thing with Punisher. Like, that's just a guy who's in a lot of pain. That's the purpose. Is there is a lot of pain going on in Frank Castle, and he knows one way to deal with it, and that one way to deal with it isn't everybody's cup of tea, and he doesn't care. that's not. He is the judge, jury, and executioner of his own life, and that's the way that stuff is, man. And it can be dark and it can be gritty, but it's realistic. And that's what I love about that. And that's why I give him top 5. I know it might be a hot take, but Daredevil, man, when done correctly, like when you go back to some of his best comics, I'm telling you, there's not many solo comics that can top like some of his best work.
I will say he's definitely top 5 MCU character for me. Top 5 Marvel character, I don't agree with, but I can see the argument because of like the points you made, right? And I think that's all we really want from any, not just comic book character, but just any character in general. We want to feel that struggle. We want to see them actually have to deal with these consequences of their actions, as well as just the humanity and the morality that they deal with. But to wrap things up here, I will tell this gripping theory that I think DP will love, and I do want to hear your thoughts on it. I personally think this is actually smart as frick, and I'm surprised I didn't come up with this myself. But the theory is this: because of the situation with Kang, Jonathan Majors is no longer Kang. He's no longer going to be with Marvel due to the fallout of the trial where he's being, imprisoned for the abuse or the assault, I should say. The theory is you can continue with the multiversal saga, but the actual antagonist is the Maker. The Maker, for those of you that do not know, is a Reed Richards variant. He's actually the ultimate universe, the ultimate version of Reed Richards, where he's super smart, he's also super evil. And what you'll have is he is the mastermind behind everything. He is the one that is causing all of this, and he's causing incursions, which are the collisions of universes that are destroying them to make them the ultimate universe, which would lead into Secret Wars, where you'll have like the ultimate versions or the other versions of universes fighting out, right? And the person to be casted as this was the Miles Teller Fant Force Stick Reed Richards, because what more to make or to cast as a crazy villain than one of the most hated versions of a hero who is the same character? I think that is smart as heck. Miles Teller is a good actor, do not get me wrong, but I think that is a really good take, and I would 100% enjoy the multiversal saga actually be the Makers doing instead of Kang's. But what do you think, DP? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Honestly, as long as I see that character die, I'm A-okay with that. But that is an interesting theory. Now, see, there's a lot of things that I'm still learning about Reed Richards, because I guess whether people think about it or not, like, he's a very important character. Like, I did not know that Kang had any relation to Reed Richards. I did not know that. I think that's so fascinating. And I think that if they implement that into the MCU, where Reed Richards is just a huge, important part of all this going on, I think that'd be really cool, especially with bringing John Krasinski into Multiverse of Madness. They could have done something regarding Kang and, all that stuff, but obviously Kang wasn't really like in the talks during that time.
But what did you think about the Fant Force Stick casting of the character?
I think it would be great, mainly just to see his character die, because I hate
Who says he's gonna die? Who says he's gonna die?
He better, or I'll transport myself into this world and do it myself. Regardless of the point, I think it's a good theory. I think that would be very interesting to see. I think it would be a nice little twist to add to the MCU.
I think that's a great idea. Number one, I'm a fan of watching the world burn. That's just my opinion. And Miles Teller as, that guy, would be fantastic. And I think to add on to Zeus's point, I would enjoy seeing somebody by the name of Jared Leto play Kane. And then you could have Miles Teller and Jared Leto in the same universe as the two most hated individuals to ever come on screen. Some people regard Jared Leto, not myself, but some people regard Jared Leto as a cinematic terrorist. And what I mean by that is that he enjoys coming on to screen and giving you the most disastrous of performances known to mankind. I would love to see a Miles Teller, Jared Leto team up to cap off the multiversal saga. And I think that would be big for the box office as well. So, Kevin, once again, I have a request. That is what I would like to see.
Fun fact for those of you that don't know where this is coming from, he proposed this exact idea in a Marvel video we dropped on the channel, where we thought, hey, who do we think is more likely to play Kang? We gave our options. One of the options I said was John Krasinski as a version of Kang, which I think would be super interesting to see. And his last thought was the legendary Jared Leto take.
I also said Denzel Washington. Just want to have that out.
He did. I'll give him that. He did say Denzel Washington, which is interesting.
I think we should have Will Smith.
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, he also had Wesley Snipes.
No, I was thinking Will Smith. I mean,
I actually said that. I said
did say
what
that.
I said was a lot of people were wanting Will Smith, and I was like not a fan of that because
he's a violent man. I mean, I think he's perfect for the part. Just saying.
Is it a violent man? I mean,
I saw his Kang counterpart on stage when he
more
slapped
like a
Chris
violent
Rock.
punching bag. Anyways, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up here as we are derailing. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on the plethora of subjects that we have mentioned in this episode. I was just trying to get this focused on, the Defenders. That didn't stay as the core element. I tried my best, but you can only do so much with Fant Fort Stick in the equation. But yeah, I mean, let us know what other topics you want to see us cover. I'm Captain Zeus. There's Lucky and DP, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. I'll see ya.
This video is brought to you by Swift Meats. I said Swift Meats is where this video is brought to you by. Also, make sure you buy Manscaped Lawnmower 2.0 if you don't mind.
You want your balls to smell good. Use Manscaped.
Always go with Axe body spray. The ladies hate you, and you'll never get a girl ever again.
But you'll smell so damn good.
But you'll be the coolest nerd in the room.